Hey, this is Scantron Test Prep 8, and today we are going to review how to work with decimals. We'll start with adding decimals and also using the order of operations. So if you'll remember, when we have parentheses, we'll need to do what's inside parentheses first, and then we can go on to the other operations. Technically in this problem, because the one they gave us is all addition, we wouldn't have to use the parentheses, but we'll still practice it that way anyways. So we'll start here with this 7 2/10 plus 3 4/10, and I would like to show you how to work this out by hand. When we add and subtract decimals, it's important to line up the decimal. It's important to have neat handwriting and to keep all of your digits in the same column and not shift your columns, because if you start shifting, then you're going to add the wrong numbers together and then have an incorrect answer. So after you've lined up your decimals, that decimal will go right there in the answer and you're ready to add. So 4 and 2 will give us 6, and 7 and 3 will give us 10. So the answer is 10 6/10. But we still need to figure out what to do here. So when we add this decimal, we still line up the decimal even though the amount of digits is different. So then notice we sort of have this blank area here. It is no big deal to add in a 0 because we're adding it in after the decimal, so it does not change the value. That helps it to look a little bit neater so that we don't get so confused when we're adding our columns. 0 and 2 gives us 2, 5 and 1 is 6, 3 and 3 is 6, decimal is here, 5 and 2 is 7. 7 and 662 thousandths. So then we can use our calculator to wrap it up. 10 6/10 plus 7 and 662 thousandths gives us 18 and 262 thousandths. Does anyone have a question about adding or subtracting decimals? Okay, there are a lot of problems on this particular test prep that involve ordering decimals. Most of the time, it's from least to greatest, but sometimes they do flip it on you, so you'll need to pay attention. Most of the time, they'll also give you a list that is written down horizontally, or it might be a story problem and the numbers might just be within the paragraph. Either case, you need to take all of these numbers and we'll need to line them up vertically so that we can easily compare. So take care to line up each number with the decimal and the numbers in the correct column. So after I've lined up all of my numbers, I can see that there are gaps. I can fill those gaps with zeros. It does not change the value. Oh, mine are slightly off. There we go. See, I have four columns of numbers. Okay, so when I'm comparing, let's start over here at the whole number side. We have all 2's. So now we're going to have to go to the tenths place. So let's say that they want us to order least to greatest. So I'm looking for the smallest number, 4900. There are 2 zeros that are small. So now we're going to focus on these 2 as being the least, but which one is very least? So now I have to go over to the hundredths place, 9 or 4.
4.
So this one is the smallest, this one is second. All right, let's go back up to the top and find out which one's third and fourth. So remember, we had 2's. All right, then we have a 4 and a 9. Which one's smaller? The 4. And finally, the 9. There's your least to greatest. Okay, just a little heads up on some of these word problems. They give you information about a pretend race that has happened. So if we're going to order race times from fastest to slowest. Well, let's think about that. When I put my numbers in order, will they be least to greatest or greatest to least?
Greatest to least.
If you're winning a race, Ryder, do you want your time to be small or large?
Small.
You want your time to be small if you're going to win a race and be fastest. So when you see something like this, your time must be from least to greatest. That's a little tricky. You have to think through those types of questions, okay? All right, and then let's review our multiplying and dividing decimals, also including order of operations. 2 3/10 times 5 4/10, and that will be divided by 1 3/10 times 1 1/10. Okay, first of all, I want to review multiplying decimals by hand. And when we multiply decimals, it's not important to line up the decimal. When we multiply decimals, it's important to line up digits. We're actually going to ignore the decimal until the very end. So I'm going to line it up here. 2 3/10 times 5 4/10. Now, it just so happens my decimals do line up, and that is only because both of my numbers go to the 10th place. Just a coincidence. I'm going to totally ignore these decimals, and I'm going to pretend that I am multiplying 23 times 54. So here I go. 4 times 3 is 12, carry the 1. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. It's time for our second row. I'll hold my place. 5 times 3 is 15, carry the 1. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Now I'm ready to add. 2, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Carry the 1. 1 and 1 is 2, and a 1. Now I'll go back to my problem, and I'll count decimal places. 1, 2. So in my answer, I'll need 1, 2 decimal places, and so the decimal will go there. 12 and 42 hundredths. Okay, we can work this one in our calculator. And we'll get 1 and 43 hundredths and bring down your division sign. All right, so now I want to show you this long division. And let's pretend that the question says round the answer to the nearest tenth. Okay, so 12 and 42 hundredths goes in the house because 12 and 42 hundredths is divided by 1 and 43 hundredths. Now, the rule with dividing decimals is a decimal cannot knock on the door. So all we have to do is bump, bump, and that's the same as multiplying by 100. Bump, bump on the inside as well. Go ahead and put your decimal in the answer before you forget. And now we can use our calculator to assist us in this division. So in your calculator, you can type 1, 2, 4, 2 divided by 1, 4, 3, and we'll see that that is an 8. Then we do 8 times 143. We get 1144. Let's subtract. In our calculator, we get a 98. Compare, 98 is less than 143. So now we're ready to go on. We're going to go to the tenths place, so we'll need to add a 0. And remember, it doesn't change the value because it's after the decimal. We'll bring down. So now we want to see how many times 143 goes into 980. So in our calculator, we type 980 divided by 143. And we see that that will go 6 times. Now we multiply. 6 times 143 gives us 858. Let's subtract. And we get 122. Compare. 122 is less than 143. We're on the right track. Now, if I want to round to the nearest tenth, I'm going to need to go one more place out. because I need to know whether to round that up to a 7 or to leave it be. So we'll add another 0 so that we can bring it down. I need to know how many times 143 will fit into 1220. So in my calculator, I type 1220 divided by 143. I see that we go 8 times again, and then 8 times 143 was 1,144. Subtract again. This time we get 76. Compare. 76 is less than 143. We're good to go. And now we can see that we're glad that we went ahead and did that extra place, because that 8 will round this 6 up, and our final answer will be 8 7/10.